Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Troy Felder, co-chair of the United Way African American Partnership Cabinet. AAP is proud to kick off Black History Month celebrations early this year, honoring one of Atlanta's own philanthropic leaders, Curley M. Dossman, Jr. We appreciate your participation today and encourage you to comment in the chat and share feedback as we tackle various topics today related to leadership, service, and the importance of diversity. I'd like to give a special thanks to our AAP cabinet who have made today's event possible, as well as our corporate partners who advance AAP's signature cause, powering the potential of African American boys and young men towards academic achievement. Now, in year 9 of our endeavors, AAP's signature cause is streamlining our efforts to tackle day-to-day academic support and decrease learning loss for middle and high school students in Greater Atlanta. Last summer, we celebrated achieving $1 million in net revenue, going specifically towards AAP powering the potential partners. We've set out to reach a new goal of $2 million in half the time. Significant progress has already been made, and we are well ahead of schedule. This work is being driven forward as a result of a steadfast efforts of AAP members, AAP's corporate partners, and so on. Today, there are approximately 5,000 boys and young men who have participated in programs that benefited from that support. The combined gifts of AAP members, AAP corporate contributors total more than $2 million every single year. That helps to advance the goals of AAP's signature cause and United Way of Greater Atlanta's child well-being movement. And that impactful work brings us all together again today for this special event featuring Curley. As a friendly reminder, please tweet, post, and share your reactions, your reflections from today's event on social media. And if you would, don't forget to use hashtag #LeadWithAAP. So with that, we can all be a part of the conversation. It's my honor to now turn it over to Mr. Milton J. Little Jr., President and CEO of United Way of Greater Atlanta. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Troy. Your commitment to our mission is inspiring. From your time years ago as a leader with United Way Young Professionals to the 5+ years on the AAP cabinet, our community has certainly benefited greatly because of your service. The Child Wellbeing Movement is our commitment to ensuring that every one of Atlanta's children has the opportunity and the resource they need to thrive. Our pathway towards that vision is guided by a tool we created called the Child Wellbeing Index, a diagnostic tool that helps us understand down to the neighborhood level how children, families, and communities are doing. Our neighborhood's a big one,
with more than 6 million people calling Greater Atlanta home. 5 years of data gathering and evaluation through the Child Wellbeing Index has given us a roadmap to improving child well-being with census-level data, focus, and impact.
We're actively addressing challenges in child well-being with a very targeted approach. Our Child Wellbeing Index identifies 79 communities
facing pressing issues in children's health, wellness, and education. Despite proximity to thriving families, these areas lack essential resources, prompting
intensified investments and programs to counter disinvestment and historical inequities, particularly affecting families of color. Urgency is evident, with more than 77,000 children at risk. We're also addressing a looming workforce shortage by connecting more than 14,000 excluded teens to job opportunities through collaborative efforts.
Our focus extends to ensuring equitable education access
and highlighting critical learning milestones threatened by pandemic learning loss. The enduring impact of remote learning and the absence of traditional education support systems jeopardizes our community's long-term health.
500,000 children live in areas of low child well-being, where the basics that you and I take for granted are unavailable. And that's simply not acceptable.
Together, we can make a powerful statement that they deserve the opportunity to thrive and can look forward to a brighter tomorrow. And now, it is my pleasure to introduce our very special guest, Curley M. Dossman, Jr. Curley leads Georgia Pacific's charitable giving program,
which focuses on 4 areas: education,
environment, enrichment, and entrepreneurship. He also oversees GP's community affairs efforts, including headquarters local government affairs and national disaster relief efforts. Prior to taking on this position, Curley spent a decade as the state vice president of
government affairs for AT&T. Curley's a Louisiana native. He has also held a number of positions there before relocating to Georgia, including legislative assistant to U.S. Senator Russell B. Long
and assistant director of the Louisiana State Planning Office. He earned his undergraduate degree from Morehouse College, then his law degree from Washington University School of Law. In addition to his work with Georgia Pacific, he serves as AAP champion and is involved with many, many nonprofit organizations, including
the Atlanta Committee for Progress, the Atlanta Downtown Improvement District, Atlanta Rotary Club, and the Atlanta Beltline Partnership Development Committee.
He also serves on the board of directors for 100 Black Men of America and is its immediate past chairman. Today, we are humbled and honored to have him join us today. Please welcome Mr. Curley M. Dossman, Jr.
Curley, thanks for joining us today. It's great to see you.
Thank you, Milton. Thanks for having me.
We're proud of it. Before I get into the formal questions, let me just say, long before I got to know you, I at least knew you by sight. Being a freshman at Morehouse, sitting up in the corner window, Robert Hall, looking outside and seeing this brother who was the SGA president, big old fro, just moving the campus, flowing like a guy who was on a mission. And so, for me to come back to Atlanta years later and be able to work with you, it's just been a sheer pleasure. So I just need you to know that.
Well, I appreciate that, Milton. Obviously, that was one of the highlights for me, serving as your president back then. And to know that you were a freshman at the same time, that I was trying to make my way out, but it's always good to see those relationships continue to mature, because I've also admired the work that you're doing even before you came to Atlanta, when you were working up with the Urban League and others. So I'm delighted they brought you back. And as they say, you've grown into the crown.
Thank you. I appreciate that. One of the things that I've enjoyed about this role is I get a chance, as we celebrate AAP, to spend time talking to leaders who have really shaped AAP. Got a chance to talk to Conchita Robinson. Certainly enjoyed the sort of repartee that you have when you talk to Janetta. That's real special. And so think back on the year 2000, and you were here in Atlanta and AAP was just getting its sea legs. What was so important about that moment that made it the right time for something like AAP to come to the fore?
Well, I think, we were just kind of settling in after YK2.
Right.
And I think also for a number of organizations, and many of us too that were in corporate America at that point, it was a period of time where you're starting to see a lot of African Americans entering the middle management and kind of upper management at that point. And I think also for United Way was a period where you were beginning to see early on some of the transitions that were about to occur, right? We were looking at that point where, as I recall in my old days at AT&T and others, where a lot of the support for United Way was coming from a top-down perspective, and employees at that time felt in some ways they were either pressured or felt committed that they had to do it because their leadership was actually pushing that same context. But I think we started to see at that period that there were some advantages for both parties in that context, a way for United Way to connect better with its customer base and the individuals who were contributing to United Way. And at the same time, it was providing a forum and a platform for those African Americans who wanted and needed that network and needed that support. So I think the combination was beneficial to both parties at the time, and I think it was important for those of us who were in leadership to early help support and help build that platform and create the culture where these people felt that they were supported and they had a resource that they could go to answer, support their questions, and at the same time assist them in their professional development and growth.
So in other communities like St. Louis, where similar efforts were being undertaken, there was a recognition that so many of the people being served by the agencies that United Ways were supporting were people of color. So this, I think, gave AAP members an opportunity to really feel both responsible but able to make a difference. Did you get a sense of that also?
Absolutely. I mean, I think we felt that was a way for the people, the members of the AAP, to actually connect with the constituency that that you were serving, but that they were also contributing to, right? And it was also an opportunity for them to really, I always say face-to-face communication has been the most effective, and it was a way for them to actually engage directly with the population that they were trying to help and to actually support. But also, I think, you mentioned Janetta Cole earlier, and she was such a strong advocate in the community, both for African Americans and also for those in the education arena. And she became, what we call a huge shero for many of us, that she was one of my sheroes in that context. And so I think the idea of United Way at that point, creating the Janetta Cole Society, was another way to kind of also bring in some diversity around and in a level of support that those AAP members could actually contribute. For a long time, the Tocqueville Society obviously appealed to a certain segment of the population in working, and here was a chance to broaden that base.
Indeed, indeed. I can hear.
Hear her calling both of us, Brother President.
There you go.
Indeed. The signature cause for AAP has been trying to promote the academic achievement levels of young Black boys. Say a little bit about why you think that's an important cause and how it connects to sort of so much of your passion around education.
Absolutely. I mean, education has always been at the forefront for me because my parents were both educators and principals. And then when I was in Agile High School as a salutatorian, my salutatorian
Throw that
speech,
in.
I had to throw that in, was education was the key to success. And I believe that is, wholeheartedly to be true. And we know that education is one of the key ways for people to begin upward mobility and processes. So the opportunity now with so many African American boys in particular, either not actually meeting their current expectations or at least dropping out of school for various and other sundry reasons. We think it's important that we make sure that that constituency understands the importance of education and what it can do for them and how that can also help them through that process. That's one of the reasons why with the 100 Black Men, we actually have been really focused on working with the young men because we have the mantra, what they see is what they'll be. And here's an opportunity for these kids to really see people coming from that same community who look like them, who've been able to overcome some of the same obstacles and challenges that they're facing, gives them an opportunity to really understand that, hey, I can do that as well. And I've often said it only takes one person to just tell a young person that I believe in you, and you never know what they can finally accomplish. And whether that's the young lady at the cafeteria who puts that little extra spoon of food on the plate, or the bus driver on the works and that just says, hey, have a good day. Hope your things are going well for you. But when they kind of just give an adult who says and look them in the eye and said, I believe in you, we never know what those kids can accomplish. In fact, we've seen that is actually a factual piece where kids can soar to new heights.
Yeah, and people often think they've got to.
They don't have the wherewithal to make a difference. And you and I both know that sometimes it's just a matter of showing up or showing up, sitting down and reading somebody, just giving one of those young people an ear that demonstrates that they're going to be heard. Isn't that your perspective?
Yes, in fact, you reminded me. I had a science teacher when I was in high school. He said, "Hey, uh, it's not that difficult to be succeed because there just aren't that many people trying. So you show up. That's half the battle, I think. So we really commend those kids who work, and because a lot of folks who either have reservations about showing up or are somewhat skeptical. I don't believe, I don't have the confidence in themselves that they can actually accomplish it. But once they arrive and they participate, they really begin to see that, you know what, this isn't as difficult as I thought. And here's an opportunity now. If that person's done it, I know I can do as well.
And here's a question I haven't asked you before, but it's a softball. So what's it like for you as president of a foundation at Georgia Pacific to have the wherewithal of a multinational company to be able to sort of execute impactful things in local communities that are really addressing these education issues?
Yeah, I'm really grateful to the leadership at Georgia Pacific because they've given me a platform in which you can actually, I can actually provide and utilize our resources to begin to really try to help solve problems that we have in the community and address some of the toughest issues that we have. So the opportunity to be able to leverage that platform on behalf of those students and young people who don't have the kind of opportunities that I may have had is a really rewarding and self-fulfilling kind of opportunity for me as well. But it's a two-way street because I get more from those students when we interact with them, and also it's a great feeling to be able to see when people actually realize that they can accomplish much more than they have, or to solve a real tough problem, because we've had the privilege of engaging in a lot of the tough issues, supporting United Way and your child well-being initiatives, to see the progress that you were making, to see the success of the 211 initiative, especially as we try to address the homeless situation. So to be able to see that we've got these new infrastructures and partnerships that are out there that we can join and become partner in helping solving the problem is very rewarding for us, but also for the company as well.
Yeah. But I think it's important for us to emphasize that you don't have to be
The president of the United Way, you don't have to be a president of a corporate foundation to make a difference. Neither one of us started where we are now. And just say something about it.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. I think there's an opportunity for individuals to actually volunteer, to get engaged in issues that they have a passion around, but also to get in issues that they really feel they can add value to, and use their skill sets, their capabilities to help address some of the concerns that the community is facing. It provides a unique opportunity also for them in their own professional growth, and an opportunity for them to display some of the skill sets that they may not be able to display in the current role that they're in, right? So here's a chance to take on a leadership role, solve another problem by volunteering, but at the same time, to really make a difference and help drive to successful outcomes. I think that's the biggest important piece, and they'll gain that same level of satisfaction and sense of fulfillment as well.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of folks in the audience who are knee deep in this, who are really passionate, concerned, actively involved. There are probably some folks in the audience who are just beginning to think about where they might make a difference. Just say something that might inspire them to sort of take that initial step, get their hands dirty.
Sure. I think one of the things that I always tell folks that's important about trying to get involved and get engaged in volunteering, particularly if they can get involved in sort of a leadership role, particularly like on these boards of nonprofits. Oftentimes, there are people in the community that we would like to know or have an opportunity to get to meet. And typically, they'll have somebody that we kind of call gatekeepers, right? And it's kind of difficult to get to them. But when you're serving on that board, you're actually sitting right next to those individuals. You have an opportunity to build your extra social capital in that same context and expand your relationships. And what you'll get out of that as well is that they'll have an opportunity to see you in the world and understand what your capabilities and contributions are. And you never know from those experiences, they may go back to their respective places and say, hey, I happen to have an opening, or someone is telling me about a position that's available. And I remember, I worked with so-and-so. I worked with Milton over here on this board, and I really was impressed with his skills and his work. And those opportunities again begin to unfold for you, right? So you never know what will come of that. And I found that to be true in my own experiences and career. To be honest with you, not in a bragging way, but just thinking about it, Milton, I never actually went out for a job interview. I was always recruited, but part of that was because I was always actively engaged. And I think, and also I have to give credit to our maker in that same context, because I'm sure he was guiding me in a lot of ways. But there are people who were opening doors for me when out. And I also say, when you're in those leadership roles, or even in the companies you're trying to develop, it's important to have somebody, as I'd say, to wave your flag when you're not in the room. So when there are people who you've gotten to know and working, there's an opportunity for them now to be able to speak, very directly around what they know you can accomplish and what you can achieve.
Yeah, one thing that you and I both know is that someone's always watching.
Absolutely.
You don't know exactly who it is, but you know somebody is.
Somebody's paying attention, correct. In fact, I've also shared, when you and I first started in this business, we had the saying, it was not what you know, but who you know.
Exactly.
And then that started to evolve, not what you know, but who knows you.
Correct.
And actually today, it's not what you know, but who knows you, but who knows what it is you know. And for exactly, I used to could give a reference, Milton, and they'd say, oh, Curley representative said he knew you. My word was sufficient.
Right.
But today, when they ask you for references, they want to know, did they actually work for you? Did you know what kind of experience that you have? Would you really hire that person back? I mean, the level of detail that goes along with that now circles back around to people really intimately knowing, and those people who are looking for jobs, and now they want to make sure that that talent that they're out there in this war for talent market, that they're actually getting a reference from someone that they really feel very comfortable about. And here's an opportunity for you to gain some extra support in that context from the relationships that you built.
Indeed, indeed.
And I believe that AAP provides a platform for all of you. So, in closing, just say something about why you've decided to be an AAP champion and what you think it could mean.
AAP involvement to folks out there in the community.
Again, I really think, as I said, it helps with their professional development and growth. It helps you with your building social capital. But at the same time, it provides an opportunity for people who really want to make a difference to find ways to get engaged and to help you sort through and understand what the real needs are. So you're just not going out there, blindly looking, right? You now have a network and a support base that can help steer you to some of the key and important communities that's working here. The other thing I found from myself, Milton, is that I find great gratification of being a champion in the same sense. And I'll tell you, it never fails to amaze me when I had the opportunity to speak at one of the AAP events, to later on walking to a restaurant or room and have someone walk up to me and say, hey, I was there, I heard you speak. And oftentimes I get the question, would you mind being my mentor? But the idea that, there are people hungry for opportunities and they're looking for ways in which they can better themselves. And I think AAP provides that kind of network and that type of platform.
I think there is a wonderful play at the intersection of people's interest and their professional goals and the needs of the community. And at that intersection is AAP. So, just thank you, my brother, for your help and your support and your leadership, and offer you any final thought that you want to.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, and I will just say to the membership, please take advantage of the opportunity that AAP provides. It's going to be very important in terms of what rewards you'll get out of that engagement. And I just look forward to continuing to support the organization, its leadership, and want to continue to make sure we're supporting you in the work that you're doing.
Well, thank you, Curley, for your own personal involvement with us, and thank you for the leadership you have provided to Georgia Pacific, as it has been a chief partner of United Ways for many, many years.
It's been our pleasure.
Well, thank you.
And so next up is Rhonda McKinney, who is AAP Cabinet Events Committee Chair. And so join me, though, again, and just say thank you to Mr. Curley Dossman for his leadership and support and his engagement as an AAP champion.
Well, thank you again. I want to echo Milton. It's a pleasure to have you with us. And you shared a lot of pearls of wisdom with us and information. One thing I took away was it's no longer what you know, or who knows you, but who knows what it is you know. That is brilliant. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
We have just a few questions for you today to help us do our jobs better. So I'll start with a couple of questions here. So the first is diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging losing its win in corporate America in Atlanta today?
No, I don't think we're losing its win at this point. I do think there are, there's concerns around some of the legal decisions that have been made and some of the parameters that people have to now navigate as a result of how they participate in some of the D&I work. But I don't think that it's really losing much of the steam. I think people just have to figure out other ways in which they actually want to incorporate that. And I think one of the ways that it's best done is really trying to tie those things into the company's values and its actual culture. So I think when people approach the respect for the individual and what their individual contributions can make, and being open to listening to employees and understanding what their desires and what their passions are, I think, there's an opportunity there to continue it. Plus, I do think that some recent studies have shown that the new generation that's coming in, Generation Z and others, that's top of mind for them. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's going to go away from that perspective, because that's something that's they value, that's becoming increasingly important to them. And all the studies have shown that it's in the top three of their concerns, whether it's healthcare, some of the education, but the D&I pieces is a big component of that. So when you're looking at this shortage of talent and people who have this war for talent, I think the opportunities there will still be there. But again, I think it has to really become part of and embedded in the overall culture. And it should be tied into the culture of the specific company that people actually work with. So I think there's an opportunity there. And the work that the Atlanta Chamber is doing from a more traditional perspective is still keeping it top of mind for most of the companies here in the city of Atlanta. I do think there are different approaches on how we engage in those whole work, but I do think that opportunity and the issue itself will still stay top of mind.
I'm encouraged that the younger generation has a passion for this work, and it's an expectation of their new roles. I think it's important for those of us that are here now to figure out how to really embed this in the business processes. So I think my company, I know we're trying to figure that out, and hopefully more companies are doing the same. I have one more question for you. As you know, in your years of service and professional development, it's important that our allies, non-Blacks, are also active in the African American community. How do we get them more involved?
I think one way, obviously, is really to reach out and engage them. I think that's one of the unique opportunities that we have today, is for people of different perspectives to be open to other points of view. And I think it's important that you actually let it be known that you are open and encouraging, and we want to create an environment where everyone who participates with you feel comfortable in that. I know in our company at GP, we usually hold forums that we call sort of core conversations, and that's where everyone within the company is invited to participate on some of the topics we're in, and those employees who have an interest are certainly open to joining that same context. So from my perspective, also, I've learned with the work we've done with the 100 Black Men, we've reached out to our counterparts in the Latin American community. We've also get a lot of support from employees who volunteer of different races who participate with us in our mentoring program. So part of it is just actually letting people know that you welcome their participation and that they can feel very comfortable when they come into the organization that, you're going to respect them for who they are and for what they have to contribute to the work that you're trying to get accomplished.
Thank you. That inclusion piece.
Yes.
Include everyone. Thank you.
So I first of all too want to sincerely thank you for all those wonderful insights that you provided.
Well, you guys are very kind.
Yeah, but I want to continue. I have a couple questions that I'd like to join in the conversation. And it's how do we deal with the politics of affinity groups when you kind of think of the branding and you kind of make people feel like they're feeling like they're excluded once they're branded to certain affinity groups. So how do you kind of deal with the politics of that?
Well, I think it's similar to what I was saying earlier, right? Obviously, affinity groups have value in terms of the opportunity to provide support and an opportunity for networking with individuals. And I've even had people that I've had on my team I probably wouldn't have known or been able to recruit them because I hadn't had a chance to work with them until I actually saw them in the work in the group that we were working in at the same time, right? But also, I think it's important not to be inclusive and not to have those be viewed as something that's only for one segment of the population of the employee group, right? We kind of take the position that the forums ought to be informal and they should be open to anyone who wants to participate. And so no one should actually feel that they can't join and they want to contribute to the conversation or be supportive. We want to be open to that same context. So I think the way you get around some of the politics is not to have it be so rigid and formal that it's restrictive only to a certain segment of the population. And that part of this effort is to actually continue to make sure that everyone feels comfortable in terms of the conversations we're having. People are going to learn from each other. And I think it's important for us to understand the value of the other perspectives and someone else's experiences, because we all do at least understand and value that is the diversity in that context is really brings out the value from individuals and their contribution, but also for the overall company as well. So to me, not trying to make it so restrictive that people get the wrong idea that it's only one group here. And then, there have been some concerns of people think they can become just a session for gripes and for people to express their displeasure around certain issues. But I think when you set the forum up appropriately and you deal with the topics that are issues that people really find to be of value to them, there should be no real concern about who comes into the meeting and who's not, right? And I think, again, having the respect for the individual and treating each person with respect is really key to making that work.
Wow, thank you. So that goes back to really inclusion is going to be a main point to help deal with those politics and bringing everyone together. Let it be open. Diversity and inclusion plays a big part.
Right, and like I said, I think people have to be open to listening to other people's points of view, and not just be held so tightly to their own perspective and point of view. So I think that's a big part of it. We have what we call the challenge process in our company where anyone can feel comfortable raising an issue or concern, and you can do that in a respectful way. But that's what I think is most important.
Okay. In the same area leading up to that, how can African Americans bring their authentic self to the workplace?
I think it starts with, being comfortable with who you are and having the confidence that, you know what your strengths and what your weaknesses are. You know where you think you can add the most, contribute the most to the work that you're doing in the workplace. Because I think companies are really looking for people now who are contribution minded. And so if you really know what you're really good at, or what you feel you have a really strong passion for, you should be fairly comfortable in saying, raising your hand for the opportunities that come up that you think you feel you can contribute to, or even if you feel you can lead a certain effort. The key is actually not to be, some people say, overly aggressive or assertive, right? But I do think you should not be bashful about raising your hand and volunteering and offering to add your perspective to the conversation, or also to do that in a way that's very authentic from your perspective, based on your experiences and what you've learned and what your life experiences have been.
Wow. That's a great takeaway. I love that. Being confident and knowing your strengths and weaknesses, and just a breadth of great information that you provided. I thank you so much for all your valuable insights.
Right. And again, we could talk to you all day, and I wish we could, but I know your time is limited. So being confident, bringing our authentic selves, making sure we are inclusive and respectful of people. I think those are all things that we can all aspire to in this space. So one last thing before we wrap up. As leaders of AAP, I want to know what your call to action is for us moving forward.
Well, I think as leaders, it's important for you to set, your vision and be clear about it, so that people that are following your leadership understand what it is you're trying to accomplish, what those goals are, and how they feel they can contribute to that. Right. So, and then so one is really kind of giving the vision and making it plain. The other is for you to walk the talk. Right. So if you and then being respectful of those other individuals and seeking out their input in terms of what it is you want to have done, so that you're not just driving the train and saying, here's kind of what we think, but it's important to have their input as well, and have them feel comfortable that they're contributing to helping to meet the goal that you're setting.
Thank you so much. Well, we appreciate your perspective, and we will make sure that we're doing the same. So thank you again for sharing this time with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all both for taking your
Conversation.
Yeah. Well, thanks for your leadership and for you volunteering to be engaged in this important work. So I'm sure the organization is going to be better for the services that you bring and the capabilities that you're offering to the organization and this group. So I look forward to seeing what you guys are going to accomplish.
We look forward to doing as much as we possibly can. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I'll turn it over to Ricky McLeod, who'll tell us more about membership.
Hello, I'm Ricky McLeod, first Vice Chair of the African American Partnership Cabinet. Today's event is an example of the many exciting 2024 engagement opportunities we have planned for you, including the upcoming 8th Leadership Luncheon featuring Omari Hardwick, 6th Annual Day of Service, and 3 AAP members only exclusive professional development and networking events. If you're not already an AAP member, we encourage you to consider making the commitment today. For the investment of $20 per week or more, you'll have the opportunity to grow your network and gain a deeper understanding of the complex challenges United Way convenes top leaders to evaluate and execute real-time solutions. United Way is who we count on to report progress and key strategies for achieving a community where everyone thrives. We're building bridges and a network of like-minded professionals to maximize our clearing power. Join us by visiting the QR code on the screen, or please log on to unitedwayatlanta.org and select African American Partnership under the Get Involved tab. Yolanda, over to you to close us out.
Thank you, Ricky, and special thanks to all of our participants today, particularly Curley M. Dossman Jr., for sharing your wisdom and expertise. I'm Yolanda Mack, co-chair of the United Way African American Partnership Cabinet. I'm truly thrilled to be part of an organization well known for being a community leader and change agent. As Troy mentioned earlier, AAP's signature cause, Powering the Potential, has greatly exceeded our expectations for progress and impact. The annual reports from our agency partners released just within the past week indicate we served 1,566 youth during 2023, of which 937 were African American boys. 765 of those students reported tangible academic improvement for a success rate of 82%. What a testament for the limitless achievement of children when they receive resources and support to be successful. AAP's cause is one of the many that United Way of Greater Atlanta works day in and day out to support. We encourage you to visit unitedwayatlanta.org to learn more about child well-being in AAP, as well as Women United, Young Professional Leaders, and our United Way Coal and Tocqueville societies. We'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.